Seattle, California, USA, Washington.
Probably put my microphone on.
Ooh. Avert your eyes!
Avert your eyes.
You've been averted. I'll just avert right here to general ETA on what your plan is. Oh! I saw something.
We're live there?
Uh-huh. We're live. Forward shaka, backward shaka. Nice.
And now we're live here. What's up?
Multiple bogeys.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Welcome. Is that going to distract you if you see that?
Me?
Well,
It's just me. No. Oh, no, I'll be fine.
great. We'll be able to...
We'll be able to see ourselves, but seconds later.
Correct.
This is us from the past, and this is us from now.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it's going to roll.
Oh,
I'm going to turn us down a wee bit.
great. I do have a loud voice.
You've got, in the best way possible, a loud personality. And I mean that.
It's frenetic.
Right, you have a loud personality in all the ways you want someone to have a loud personality.
Thanks.
You know there are people who have loud personalities that are just absolute assholes.
Yeah, got a sour one.
We are downing the blueberries here.
Mm.
These are the most vegan of all the vegan things that we're eating.
They're from Washington, where we are.
They're actually from Mexico.
Imported, the finest.
Only the best here for people who come on the Map It Forward podcast.
So there's loud people that are assholes, you're saying?
Yeah, and I think we experience a lot of that in our industry. People who want to be loud for the sake of being loud.
Yeah, well, they're in the restaurant industry as well. I've done.
They're in every industry,
Yeah.
I guess.
Often at the top. That's the worst part.
Yeah. Are you naturally like this, or did you set out to tone it down? Did you set out to...
I
It was
don't
just you,
actually. Who did I set out? Yeah, I don't set out to be anything but a better version of myself than I was the day before.
Mm-hmm.
But I set out to be somebody with beliefs. You want me to slide over here a little bit?
No. I'm going to move
fix
the
it?
camera because I'm more in the camera and it's not about
Well,
me.
it's your show.
Well, I'd rather it was more about you than it was about me.
But I think for a long time I didn't know who I was supposed to be, but I knew that I wanted to have an impact.
Mm-hmm.
And then at first I was going to design amusement parks.
No.
Oh, for sure.
Really?
Oh yeah, I was going to design
Tell me about
amusement
that.
parks. Well, I mean, I felt like that would be the best way to be creative and give people awesome experiences, and I designed roller coasters in the park and all the things you would do. And
How are you going to go about that career?
well, I mean, once I realized that I had to actually go through a lot of schooling that didn't apply to that career, it didn't work anymore. So
Path of least resistance?
the problem is, yeah, it was like, okay, well, I'm creative and I have a mind that can work with sciences and engineering. That is definitely more my mind.
Mm-hmm.
But then I graduated high school and I was like, cool, I get to go back to high school in the form of the first 2 years of college in order to start working on the thing that I'd like to do long term. And I came from a very poor family, and it wasn't going to work out. And I didn't. And the other thing is I didn't really at the time I didn't have a lot of mentors growing up, so I didn't have anybody being like, this is how you could actually get to that place. It was more like, oh, crazy idea, Jared, which has kind of been like my whole life anyway. So I've always been the guy with crazy ideas and big dreams, lofty goals. So.
I can't relate at all.
Yeah, totally. I'm on totally. So, yeah, you flash forward and now finally I own a business, but I think that is all fairly circumstantial, and it's been a hard fought battle in that more people, they just underestimate me. I mean, I look like a bro, I look like a frat guy, I live in California, I talk like a bro, so they automatically assume that I am.
And you like rap music?
Of course, because good people like rap music.
So clearly you should be underestimated. You and your fucking Cardi B lyrics.
Dude, I don't actually know a lot of Cardi B lyrics except
You
for
lie.
something on
You
the
know
blood on the
all
shoes.
of them.
This is money moves. That's what she says, right?
She says
She's
it just
actually,
like that.
she says something that I don't agree with, and it's something about like she doesn't talk to you because she's a boss and you're a worker, and I'm like, ooh,
You've lost my respect, Cardi B.
we're diverting here. So I'm,
Other than that, she's your homegirl.
Sure. She's a badass.
She really is. We were talking about it before, right?
Oh.
Please have another.
It's just it's an Airbnb. They'll clean it up later.
Yeah. This is why we have cleaning fees for Airbnb. For the blueberries.
I'm going to stomp it in the carpet. I'm not.
You wouldn't. You're too nice for that.
I know.
No, we were talking about Cardi B before the podcast started, about how I think she's a great role model.
Yeah. But she's got a controversial past, and you're saying she's still a great role model. And it's true. I agree with you.
You and I talk about like the idea of hard journeys, and the best people worth knowing are people who have been through hard journeys and been challenged and all of that kind of stuff. She's a great example of that. She's a woman who was in a shitty relationship, ended up deciding that she needed to get out of that, and the only way she knew how to get out of it was to strip.
Right.
And I think that the best way that we live in a fucked up society that has weird gender roles and taboos and bullshit.
Right.
And she decided to make it work for her.
Yeah, she found a way out. And she now is very successful. And she's also a role model. And you know a little bit more about her than I do.
Isn't that terrible?
No, my wife does too.
Does she?
Oh yeah, Brittany knows a lot of good things.
I feel like Brittany and I are going to get on so well because we're both kind of like looking at strong women. These are good, aren't they?
What are they?
They're vegan.
Well, obviously.
But they're like...
It's like nut clusters?
Yeah, they're paleo as well.
Flat nut crusters. Crusters. Gross.
Crusters. I'm never going to look at this the same again. But there's just lots of seeds and shit in there.
So many seeds in there.
But it's good, right?
Can't isolate one seed in there except for sesame, probably.
They're amazing with peanut butter.
Believe that.
This, peanut butter.
And then this.
No, that's
top.
Afterwards.
I'm talking about a little savory sweet sandwich here, okay?
Sandwich.
Yeah, we're like working our way through. It's
the beverage to accompany this with is elixir.
What? Wait, what did you say?
I'm sorry.
The beverage to drink this with? Oh, that makes sense.
This with peanut butter?
Yeah, and elixir.
And elixir.
Oh, yeah. Que bueno. How delicious.
Right,
How good.
I find peanut butter with normal coffee doesn't work for my palate.
Okay.
Like hot coffee.
Okay.
But with elixir, because it's super bright, I can do that. But I do like coffee with more savory kind of, more sweet kind of breakfast.
Right. I think, and I don't think you can have have you
like
had a perfect
the donuts you just had.
Oh, that was great. Yeah, I had some General Purpose donuts. They're fantastic.
I was torn between being so happy for my friend because you were devouring those donuts and so envious of the experience that was going on.
Pretty soon I'll go home and have a seed, a flat seedling.
And a blueberry.
From Mexico. Here's, wait. Oh, you haven't had Perfect Bars. That's what I was going to say.
What are Perfect Bars?
I don't think they're vegan, but they're close. And...
No, don't be one of these people who's like, so, how vegan are you?
No, I just can't remember what's in them. But peanut butter Perfect Bars go amazing with coffee. That's what I was saying.
Do they?
Oh, do they? And they have tons of superfoods in them and like 20 grams of protein. They're the best tasting bar out there.
You sound like a guy that does CrossFit. That's
not how I got to know them. That is, but it's not when I did CrossFit. I do CrossFit. Did you guys know I do CrossFit? She's a vegan, I do CrossFit. It's all we're going to talk about this whole podcast.
There'll be no coffee talk.
It's like, how many plants do you eat? I don't know. How many weights do I lift? I don't know. I'm not very strong.
How many times do you high-five someone in the gym?
It's knucks.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's a mix between knucks and fives. Usually it's like, good job. And there was all, that was hard. And, and everybody's like stripped off all their clothes and are lying on the ground. Like,
all the abs are everywhere.
Everybody's working on their obliques.
It could be the catalogue of any great athletic wears.
People that are tired high-fiving. That's all this is. What are we talking about here?
No idea yet.
Okay, good. Cardi B, great role model. That's where we started, kind of.
Let's talk about
She got herself out of a shit. Okay. What do you want to know about Cat and Cloud?
I know lots about Cat and Cloud.
Well, what do they want to know about Cat and Cloud?
No. Why Cat and Cloud?
Name or why the company?
No, the company. Like, you wanted to open amusement parks, right?
Yeah.
How'd you go from amusement parks to having a Ross bag filled with clothes that you just bought at a barista competition?
Heard about that one.
So did I. On your podcast when I was there. Mm-hmm. When I was on your podcast. So how do you go from wanting to open amusement parks to coffee industry to Cat and Cloud?
Experience. Being able to provide an experience. So ultimately it was always being able to provide an experience and memories, that positive association with good memories. Because I'm a big believer that like memories are the only things that really matter, and experiences. You're going to have all these things, they're not really going to matter at the end. All that you're going to think about is what was good.
You sound like a Disney guy. That sounds straight out of a Disney catalog.
I don't know if it is from a Disney catalog, but I do believe it. Disney or not, yeah.
Well, because it sounds like something
that's what they're selling.
Well, it sounds like something that makes up a fairy tale life,
right,
which is accessible
to
people who have that mindset.
So yeah, I think they're selling fantasy, and they are selling memories, and they're selling, magic and happiness. And I think that's literally what they'll say to you. Like, we're selling, our job is to create magic. Yeah. That is the Disney thing.
And to give anyone perspective of why, like I said that.
Yeah. Jared I do love Disney.
Loves Disney.
I do love Disney. And it is a big part of what I study in order to just create experience. It's a lot of my inspiration, partially because they're like $1 billion company, but if you go to their parks, they do a really amazing job.
And they're worth studying. Like,
yeah, they're worth studying.
We're going to talk about mentors and stuff like that. Like, they're an organization that acts as a mentor for a lot of businesses. Yeah, definitely. So, but I appreciated experiences, still do. And so I felt, and still do feel, that the coffee industry is full of places that lack experience for the most part. They are all in place for, I guess experience is that's a round word. They lack the kind of experience that I would call memorable, with the exception of sometimes amazing flavors. But you've got to go through a jungle of unpleasant experiences from the door to getting that cup before you figure that out, that they make great coffee.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
So, I mean,
so that's all. Yeah, there's a lot of turnoffs on the way to like, oh, well, this was a really great cup of coffee, so I guess I'll come back.
Yeah.
Potentially. And I also I thought there's a lack of creativity, and a big part of me likes to be creative and try different things. And so I felt like, and still feel like, a lot of the industry is just kind of repeating what has happened so far. And I think there needs to be more people breaking that mold. So we didn't plan on doing Cat and Cloud until, I guess, early 2015. By mid 2015, it was happening. So, and that was through a mix of things. Chris had a bad experience attempting to open a company. I mean, he did get a company open with, Honeyco, it's still a company. So that's the company that roasts coffee for Scout Coffee in San Luis Obispo.
Okay.
And it's the same owners. And Chris went in as the minority partner with the husband and wife owner team, which I think he learned a lot about, considering that's probably, husbands and wives are most likely always going to agree over the third partner in some way, shape, or form. Not always, but
a little bit of bias there going on.
Yeah.
Not from you, but in a partnership where you're going in with a husband and wife.
Right. So there's going to be bias.
They're always going to be able to outvote you.
Yeah, well, exactly.
And they always will.
And I think that started to happen. So I won't speak for his story, but that was happening. And then Charles had come, and we had a great experience at Verve together, and he knew a lot about finance. And then, through Verve bringing on a new CEO and kind of never having actually established their company values and trying to kind of pivot to become what they wanted to be without actually putting any mission to it, with the exception of we're going to open stores, we were all kind of lost for inspiration. Not only that, looked over as far as skill set and opportunity. It wasn't given to any of us. So we were like, cool. I mean, Charles had it because he came in as assistant to the CFO. So he was there. And that CFO became the CEO, and Charles was a main, he was moving the money around. He knew all the ins and outs of how the company worked. And I knew a lot too. I was running retail, but as we expanded, it was like, bring on people who don't know anything about this industry or coffee, because we're going to now become a retail company, not a coffee company. And I think while there's something to be understood about growing, understanding, and expanding your mind as far as what retail is, maybe in big business. You don't need to bring in somebody from there. You probably could just train up people who already know your culture. So,
but that requires,
we miss that.
It requires people to know what they're doing.
And time, yeah. And I don't know. I think people knew. I think that company suffered a lot from being. There was lacking confidence in the people who were in leadership above me. There was, and that is
and skill?
Something. I don't think so. No, I think actually our company was fully skilled. I just think that nobody believed in themselves, and I was one of the people who did believe in us, and I would wager that that was a big part. And there's other people in the company, like at my level and slightly below my level, that believed in what we were doing, and I think that we could have achieved a lot. A ton,
we are about
actually.
to go down a rabbit hole that is going to be so tasty.
Good. Tasty rabbit holes.
Well, only because this is so majorly what
cereal.
It is a cereal.
Gross.
For Mary Poppins. No, who was that? Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah.
But this is a rabbit hole that you and I majorly both, like, our brains get turned on by this. This
Let's
idea
do it.
of, you know, brand ambassadorship from within the company.
Yeah.
Having the insight into choosing the right people who, even if they don't know it themselves yet, have a target towards or can head towards being the right people for the company. If you skill them up correctly, based on something that you and I've been talking about, but you open my eyes to, is the strength
finders.
Strength finders.
Yeah.
You know, once you help people identify what their strengths are, you can help target them towards what they should be doing, rather than necessarily what they are doing, and then back that up with the idea that they really believe in the brand. Have enough people in the organization that are doing the same, that come from that same mindset, and you've got magic. Yeah,
I think so. And I think you need visionaries, and you need to have belief in whatever your future is, and it has to be clear enough that you can present it to somebody. And
so communication skills.
Oh, well, yeah, communication skills, but even just like the ability to dream vividly and be like, this is something that we can make happen. Maybe I don't know exactly how, but I know it can happen.
Do you believe that that's something that everyone can do?
I think that some people are more talented at it than others, to be honest with you. I think it is more inherent in some than others, and I think that that's good. I think there's visionaries and leaders out there. There always has to be a leader. There always has to be a visionary. And they're equally important have to be the people who are not, to make sure that that can actually happen. Because often leaders and visionaries are going to be held up at some point along the way, and they will not be strong at something that is absolutely necessary for success.
Yeah. Then, you know, we recently did that thing where we were doing the hiring for Map It Forward and Elixir and my new album project. And we were hiring a team, and we asked those questions.
Yeah.
For anyone that's listening in, we just check it out on my Instagram, or on Elixir's Instagram, or on Map It Forward's Instagram. We asked 10 personality questions to help people understand what we wanted them to answer them, so we could understand what skill sets they brought as a person, rather than just the things that they could execute. And we were selecting for specific kinds of people.
Yeah.
Steady State Roasting took the same model and applied it to hiring a full new team for a cafe.
Yeah.
And they got a ton of applications. One of the questions is choose a number from 0 to 20. And the reason is there have been some studies done that show that people, based on the number that they choose, are either more or less likely to be motivated to execute big thinking ideas.
Okay.
So when Steady State, we were going through what Steady State we're going to choose to interview people, they wanted people from both ends of the spectrum. So they didn't want anyone who was answering 4, but they wanted people who were answering closer to 10. They were the people who were just going to get the work done. And then they wanted the people who were up in the 18s and 19s, because they needed people who were going to be visionary as well.
Interesting.
So, you know, it's this idea of, look, having different kinds of people in an organization really fills it out, like from a 3D kind of perspective. You want all the kinds of personality types. As long as everyone's on board with the vision, I guess. You don't have to be driven and need to be executing I have a 10-year strategy to make $100 million. And
No, I mean, my right-hand girl, Kristen, she So I have two. I have a right and left hand, and then the rest of the company is amazingly supportive as well. But for the retail progression, I have Tanner and I have Kristen, and they basically, help me run the entire retail company at this point, which is 30 employees, call it. And Kristen can't see what I see in the future. Tanner can, but on the flip, Kristen can operationalize a lot of what I need to do to get there, where Tanner can't, and Tanner can communicate culture in a way that Kristen can't. And so there's this really cool juxtaposition. They're both team leaders, which means they run stores. They're both amazing coaches and teachers, but they kind of specialize in different things. And if I don't have them two, we don't move forward, because a lot of my strengths fall under the generalized categories of relationship building and strategy.
Now, did they come to you with those skills, or is that something that they're harnessing through Cat and Cloud?
But I mean, both. I think I sought them out, so I picked them both. I went and found them. Like I'm a firm believer in select your team.
And did you select them through an interview process, or did you go and find them at other organizations? And
I worked with Tanner when he was extra young, and I just knew and that's just the weird part. So I mean. People believe it or not in things like strengths finders, but one of my strengths is futuristic ideation and strategy. Those are my three, literally, in that realm of strategic thinking. And what it is it's how my brain works is I see how people act and learn their kind of motivations and who they are in the context of like how they work and act, and then I can kind of see where they would fit into doing something big. So with Tanner, I saw that. I was like, he has not been developed at all, and he's ready to be something big.
Yeah.
And then Kristen, I had never worked with, but she had served me coffee a bunch of times. And she has this bubbly personality and way of communicating about her, and this composure that is pretty unparalleled. And the way she communicated led me to realize that she could teach really, really well and clear and concise. And so I was like, these are two people that are leaders in completely different ways that I need on my team. So I just talked to them and told them what I saw in them, and I said, I think you'd be really good, which is what I do in general.
That is something that's missing in a major way in our industry. And to put it in a word, it's mentors and potential mentors. We don't have any kind of a program. I guess Map It Forward is part of what's bringing that, but we don't really have a program that helps recognize talent and helps inspiring it to fulfilling its destiny.
Right. Totally. I think a lot of people, though...
Unless I'm missing something.
No, I think you're right. I just think the problem is that people are thinking inside this box, and they're thinking linear based on what they know, and they're not thinking about creating.
And career development,
right.
and how do I build something long-term and expansive.
Big old bubble. It's not a box, a little tiny box. It's just like, yeah. So I mean, I think that people, they'll just be like, okay, well, that person's not a shift lead or a manager, so that's that.
Do you think
potentially?
It's interesting in the perspective of when we were talking about, can everyone think creatively?
Yeah.
And be visionary. Do you think that it's a lack of people stepping into that vision? And by people, I mean people that are owning businesses. Are they just trying to do what everybody else is doing and not thinking, how could I do this different?
Yeah.
How could I push this beyond what everybody else is?
Gosh. I mean, if you want my honest opinion, right, what you do, I just think certain people are built to do it and certain people are not in that way. And I think everybody has the ability to be creative, but there's creativity in like an artist's way, and then there's creativity in a problem-solving way. And while they're not mutually exclusive, one might be more towards, I don't know, just something fun and creative and good. Like maybe that person is great at creating art for your merch, which will be really helpful, but they don't know how to apply it in a way that would help your business. And so they're really creative, they're really helpful, but they need somebody to be able to say, keep doing that. I know how to use that, and I'll help you benefit from it.
You're a piece in this whole puzzle.
As am I, the other person.
Right.
I can't do that art.
And maybe that piece is that you're the person who links all of it together. And that's what the role of the visionary is. The visionary comes up with the ideas and the execution strategy. Like, I can see that could lead to that, could lead to that, could lead to that, could lead to that. Whereas most people are just saying, oh, I'm really good at drawing and I really want...
Right. And like, that's the problem with, I think, it's not even the problem with business owners, but business owners, I think, get in and they think too small. They start a company and they're like, we're going to make the best coffee and it's going to be awesome and we're going to serve our city. And while that is awesome, the company gets open, they have a store, it's successful, and it serves their city. And then if they're not a visionary and they don't have anywhere to take it, or they don't know where to take it, that's
where it ends.
That's it. That's all.
As big as it's going to get.
And so then this thing happens where the owner now is like, okay, I'd love to take a month off with my family someday, but I can't get anybody to run my company because I can't really pay them because this is all I got is the company and it pays me to run my life. And like I have like a manager, that's cool, and like a so on and so forth, but they need me. So I'm basically married to my business now, and I have little opportunity to do other things in life, and that actually becomes a negative snowball effect because your best self is actually exploring the world, continuously curious, has the free time to separate yourself to get your mind right and do big things. And if we don't allow ourselves to have that creative freedom, we actually are going to end up having a mediocre business, I think.
And life.
Which is even worse.
That's the most important part about it.
Even worse.
It's this differentiation that is constantly made between a business owner and an entrepreneur.
Right.
I kind of define an entrepreneur as a creative visionary in business.
Okay.
That's solving an important problem.
Okay, yeah.
Whatever. It could be the tiniest little, something's fucking up on everybody's iPhone.
Right.
Why don't I give them, like it's something that's helping a need.
That's entrepreneurial.
That's entrepreneurial,
sure.
right? And then there's the business owner who is, I want to make this much money. I want to, like it's all
totally.
Flat,
it feels like status. It feels like money. It feels like, I'm something now.
And the question I get a lot from people is, do you think that everyone can be an entrepreneur?
Mm-mm.
And I agree with you. Mm-hmm. A lot of people try to be entrepreneurs because apparently it's supposed to be very cool to be an entrepreneur. It's fucking hard.
I didn't want to be one.
Really?
I didn't plan to be one. No, I literally planned to work at Verve for the rest of my life. I thought we were going to make that thing huge. I did not.
That, to me, hearing you say that, the visual I get from that is a caged animal.
Well, thank you. That's why you CrossFit. No, to break free.
No, in the sense, and it is
but that's because you know me now.
Right. It's intended as a compliment in the sense that because you are such a visionary, you have acute focus very far into the future of what you want for your life as well as for your business and whatnot.
Right.
That makes sense to me. I process the same way.
Right.
And I'm to the point where I'm and I have to, this is something I'm working on a lot right now, is how to not be frustrated by people who can just barely see in front of them.
Right.
And they're the people who are like, I want to be an entrepreneur and I want to do really great stuff. And I'm like, you can't figure out how to get from here to next year. And figure out.
No doubt.
So how did you not know that you should?
I knew that I was maybe.
Were you deliberately stifling yourself because of self-worth?
I was. Sure. Let's just talk about it. No, I was made to believe that I wasn't very good.
Same.
So I was both made to believe that I was good, but not good enough to do the things that I would talk about. So it'd be like, we can do this and this, and we can do this. I can believe it. And it's like, you can't do that, but we could find somebody to do that. So maybe.
That was the culture that was in the business? Or was
Towards me?
Yeah. Jealousy?
I don't know.
Jealousy or resentment or barriers within stifling others so that it can make certain people look good and other people not so good?
Maybe. It's hard to tell because I feel like there wasn't a lot of confidence anyway.
Within the business?
There was at the time, there wasn't a lot of confidence in either who the people were, like in themselves, in their ability to let...
You're talking about leadership?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then there was and the other one had FOMO. Like just what everybody else was doing might be cooler than what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I was like, we're doing the cool stuff. We just need to do what we're doing. It's working. And potentially I had a different vision. So a little bit it's on me, right? You're right, kind of a caged animal in that I saw all of this and I'm like, we should do this and this and this. And I had all these ideas. And then it was potentially met with, we have different ideas, but I didn't know what they were. And they weren't being shared. So
there's that communication thing again.
Communication it's definitely a huge thing. Communication and avoiding the hard conversations of just like, here's what we want to do, and here's the plan, and there wasn't a lot of that, and there wasn't the ability in leadership, it felt like, to just take ownership of the plan. So instead of allowing our team that was there to make a plan along with seeing a vision, it was bringing other people to see this vision. And I don't know if it made them feel safer because they were with people
that you weren't there, or that
safer to bring people in from the outside, because then it would not be met with any resistance and maybe less questioning, and which I did. I questioned a lot, and I was really nice about it. I was really passive, but that's because I was not told ever what I was doing well. It was always what you're not doing well, until I won a Breeze competition, and then I was like, you're the best.
And then they could use that shiny for themselves.
Maybe. I don't even know if it was that. I think it was more just like, no, I think they were genuinely happy for me, but it was just. It was good for the company too, which is also why I did it, because it was for the company. I wanted our company to succeed, mine, not just theirs. It was always mine too. I still, to this day, struggle with stuff when I go in there because it's different. I'm like, man, we did not set out to make it like this, but this is what it is now. But it's not my company, so I guess that's why I have a company now. I
am a firm believer that it's those kinds of struggles that help us, like they birth us into our actual journey and what we should be doing.
For sure.
And it sounds like that really helped you figure out, I am a caged animal here.
It was formative, for sure.
Absolutely.
I didn't know what I was. And Julia and Todd from the French Press / Dune Coffee, they actually are really... She, especially Julia, was a big part of encouraging me to just go for it, to step out, and Chris too, into becoming a business owner.
Was that your first time having people that played sort of directive roles in your life in saying, hey, what are you doing? You're not imagining all of this.
I think she's the only one. Besides...
That's so important though, right?
Yeah, I had an 8th grade teacher who was amazing and a mentor, but he was general life. She was the only one who was like, you should just own a business.
Before somebody said that to you, were you constantly questioning yourself?
I was like, questioning myself for sure. And also just like, how do I rework my approach to make big things happen for this company? Because it's not, whatever's happening isn't working yet. How can we rework it? And I've got a myriad of all these ideas that will help us in some way, shape, or form. So how can we collect resources and or structure them to get forward? Some they saw, but most of the time it was just, when you sort of grow up with somebody, I didn't, but when you see somebody leave their hometown where they worked like 20 hours a week and partied all the time and just like, we're learning how to be responsible, to becoming responsible, you sometimes just can't differentiate who that person was to who they become.
Yeah.
And you just still see that person. So I think that some people, the owners of the company, just couldn't get past
who I see you as a kid.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think that that's something I just learned so much of, in my opinion, of what not to do.
Yeah.
And to their credit, everything they did, to their credit, they scrapped all the things that made us all leave, all the people who left the company, and they're like have reworked everything, and I think are on a positive trajectory, even though it's a really big tangent from where we were. So I think they learned from that, but it's still, I feel like it's a hard lesson to learn when you lose the amount of talent that we had.
Dude, listening is such an important part of it. You
yeah.
know, they're not listening to, I had someone ask me, Lee, tell me why I'm having such a massive attrition rate from my business. And there are a lot of really easy answers.
Right.
But the main answer is people don't leave if they feel heard.
Mm-hmm. And if they feel cared for, and if they feel that you're actually paying attention.
And it blows my mind constantly how few people listen to the people that they've invited into their business.
Right.
It doesn't matter who they are. Mm-hmm. People, if they're there, they're actually spending their time. They could be working anywhere.
Yeah.
They are the people who can tell you the things that you don't have insight to. Listen.
Yeah.
Ask the questions and then hear what they've got to say.
Mm-hmm. It's so key. And yeah, being able to talk to people in such a way where they can feel free to do so, or like find the time to sit down with them and just have those conversations and let them at least ask you questions so they can kind of figure out what's going on in your head too, is so key. But I mean, just to speak into that more, I feel like I know one of my talents is connection and development. Mm-hmm. So those are the kind of the relationship builders, and seeing like how the big pieces come together in people and then seeing where they can be, which we talked about, right? And so, you know, my goal is to put all these people around me in such a way where I can lead the general company with strategy, but still integrate myself onto the floor to make sure that I'm essentially able to talent scout from within and make sure that people are connecting with me as an owner from all levels, including entry level, forever, so that I can build relationships, ask questions, ensure that things are as we plan on them being, from front to back, back to front, top to bottom, side to side. But my talents will come from seeing opportunity in people and speaking into them and helping develop them to become the next leaders or the next whatever. And that is actually what I'm good at. So,
and it's another form of listening, though.
Yeah, totally.
Right?
You for sure. You have to ask questions. You have to listen. You have to
be present.
Translate what they're saying into application. And so I'm starting to find out that that's my skill set. And it's really cool to find that out because it's starting to lead to some confidence that I have lacked my entire life. And while I'm really sensitive and I care a lot about what people think of me, which is part of who I am. And it's a bummer. I wish I didn't, but it's true.
Same here, man.
Totally true. I am now becoming confident that I can help people get to where they want to be. And I also have a vehicle, as it turns out, in a company where I can help that happen, finally. So I'm feeling freedom to create for the first time in my life. And it's really crazy. And it's starting to hit like a whole new level in the last month too, which is cool. So
do you think that the confidence is what is playing a role in that next gear?
Confidence and even more clarity and a vision. So it's almost like I have and had the vision that Charles, Chris, and I have for Cat and Cloud. And then there was this general vision about like our educational side of the company.
Turn it over, dude.
And then exactly. You saw that? I was like, beep, beep, beep. It's got tripled up.
Sorry.
Like, whoa.
We were talking about turning over the phone.
Yeah. You couldn't see it.
You can't see any of it,
but
we don't have access to our phones.
Yeah, no, it's impossible. They're over here. But what's been cool is I started to see more clarity in the structure of our company, and then we're in the process of switching that up, which nobody knows about except for the internet now and myself. And there's this girl that we brought on named Mackenzie who's become our head of education, and she comes from school teaching.
I saw that on Instagram.
Oh yeah, she's amazing. Yeah, you should listen to her podcast on the Cat and Cloud Coffee podcast.
Okay, great.
But she's the first person, besides Tanner and Kristen, but the first person that came out from the outside. I interviewed with her. I was like, this is probably one of, if not the smartest people I've ever met.
Did she come to you and say, I want a job, or did you advertise?
No. She came through some people I know. She came
and said,
and she was looking to transition out of teaching
into coffee or into organizational stuff.
She just needed a break.
Okay, so she wants to be part of a corporation or whatever.
She wanted to just like get some refreshing time to recalibrate. She was going to do grad school, take her GRE.
What's a GRE?
I think it's like the test you take to get into grad school, basically.
Okay,
I believe, and there's a chance with acronyms that I say them wrong, but I'm almost positive it's GRE. So she was going to just come, have a part-time job, study for the GRE and get into grad school.
And
so we interviewed. She was amazing, and I was like, this girl is way too smart for us. I told her that in the interview. I was like, you're obviously overqualified. You're insanely smart. And then I told Charles and Chris, I was like, she's smarter than all of us, and I'm intimidated by her, so we have to hire her. That's just what I said.
There are so many reasons why I think you're awesome, and I talk a lot about stepping into your vulnerability.
Yeah.
And I think that's a perfect example of it. Like, this person, we're going to find strength in the fact that...
Oh, she's a baller. She's an ace in the hole. So that was pretty much how that worked. I was like, okay, so here we go. We're going to bring her in, and she's not good for retail. But that's how she had to work. And she wasn't. She knows. She tried her best. It was overwhelming. She's all strategy. She's all curriculum development. She understands this stuff. And so I had a job opening to have an executive assistant for myself, because there's just so many things to get done, running operations, trying to get the training, and blah, blah, blah. And she applied for it along with my current executive assistant, Sarah Shirley. And I was like, look, you'd be great as my executive assistant, but I think that you need to work with Chris and develop all of our education.
Yeah.
And she's like, everybody always tells me that I'd be great, and then they don't hire me. And I'm like, but hear me out. I really, like, you need to, I'm going to set up a meeting with you and Chris. You're going to talk. I think you're going to get on really well. I think you'd work really well together. And I think that you will be able to develop the educational system that Chris and I envision. And then they met and they started working well together. And then she essentially showed us a first pitch of what our orientation could look like. Flash forward to now, she's head of education.
Did you task her with that? Like, pitch us and tell us what you could do?
We do have like in our orientation, like a 5 steps to a pitch, basically, and what you would do. And so I told her to come up with something, but I didn't tell her to do like the full pitch. In fact, the 5 steps to an effective pitch came after that in the current orientation, so it wasn't there yet. So yeah, she came and brought us everything, and I was like, proud dad moment. And Chris was like, yeah, she's great. And then he's an amazing coach and mentor also. And specifically when you get to he's like a one-on-one coach. He's not necessarily like a manager coach where he sees everybody. He's a one-on-one. And so him and her have just taken off. And so because of her, I'm also reignited too, because she is actually all 5 in strategy. And I'm talking about StrengthsFinder. There's activation, relationships, blah, blah, whatever. You can look it up. But all of hers are in strategy. And 3 of her 5 are the same 3 of my 5. So we communicate really well together. She understands what I'm saying, and we can get to the conclusions together. So she can take a lot of what I'm doing, and she has a teaching background, so she can help formulate it, and we come up with some pretty crazy ideas. So I have a clearer vision because of her on how to do what I've had this picture of for a long time. And she's improving all of my stuff, and Chris is improving it, and then taking these amazing people that we have and starting to utilize their strengths, or seeing now, because of her and this little thing happening, how I can utilize their strengths to create this future. I can see it now.
Whenever a new team member comes into something like that, there's always the potential. It will, without a doubt, shift the dynamics within the team.
Yeah.
Have you come across many experiences where somebody comes in that's ready to create that much change and it hasn't gone well? Did that happen a lot?
Well, I'm not there anymore, and it happened.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was wondering.
Yeah, I mean, and this is honestly business 101, even though it maybe doesn't feel like business 101. If somebody comes in at a high level position, is in charge of an entire company or a large portion of it, and they're not aligned with the company values,
they need to leave.
They will not help long term. They'll either, all the company values will change, which is the ultimate no-no if you started a company because your company doesn't feel like your company anymore, or everybody leaves.
Yeah.
Who believed in the company values, and that was experience.
But that needs to be something that people start asking at interview.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it boggles my mind how people haven't screened for that before the person turns up, and how the person hasn't screened for that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and then to be sort of fair and put it a little bit on the business owner, if you don't at least have the ability, whether or not they're written in stone, to speak to at least 3 things that your company stands for, and it doesn't have to be like it should be a mission statement, and you should have a vision, and you should have values. If you can't say like 3 things that like this is who we are and what we do, and then show that consistently across your company, it's a little bit on you as a business owner too. You got to be able to answer that question. So
yeah,
but you're right, and the person who's interviewing needs to be able to ask that question.
And cafes need to, in my opinion, need to be thinking beyond just the usual, oh, we're about serving great beverages, we're about community, and we're about customer service.
Right.
It needs to be deeper than that. Like, what is the business trying to achieve? What are we trying to cultivate as an actual business?
I agree.
What are the life currencies of the business? What are the values of the people that we're looking at? In the 10 questions that Steady State asked during their hiring process,
right?
Cats or dogs? And
dogs. Dogs all day.
He was looking for dog people because not that there's anything wrong with cat people.
There is. Just kidding.
You said it.
There's not, but if you're only a cat person, there is.
There is.
You know who you are, and you know why.
Yeah, correct. But for him, he's like, is it okay to be asking this kind of question? And I'm like, that's the point. Every employer should be looking to bring their people to the business because your people have the same values or similar values.
Right.
They're on board with the same kinds of things you're trying to achieve in life, the same kind of flow.
Right.
And when you're bringing those kind of people to the business, you're all moving in the same direction. And
that's how you're going to be successful long term. At least with the least amount of hiccups and speed bumps. Right.
You don't need to be putting any more roadblocks than necessary in your own way.
Because there will be plenty. There'll be plenty of problem solving to be done.
Did that shock you about business?
No. This is what's so weird. No, that's how I always felt.
Yeah.
That's what... So I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. And I don't want it to sound like I think I'm really smart. Because I don't. I just always saw it that way.
But I also think people like you and I came from a life that had a lot of roadblocks.
Well, yeah, my whole life was problem solving.
And so therefore, this is no different.
Or adaptability, yeah.
Adaptability is something that a friend of mine is a psychologist, and he said to me that people like you have finely tuned executive skills. And I'm like, what exactly do you mean by that? And he said, well, number one is adaptability. You have been through a bunch of things, trauma and, watered down versions of trauma, but you've been through things that have caused you to be able to adapt. And the more of that happened, the more finely tuned the skills are towards adaptability.
Right.
And so therefore you're well primed to be an entrepreneur because you see things that get in your way and that's a trigger for you to figure out how to get it out of the way.
Yeah.
Whereas other people they look at like a boulder gets in their way and they're seeing a massive mountain and they have no idea how they're going to get it out. Whereas we see it and we're just like, okay, so that's there and we go straight to this is how you move it.
Right.
This is an alternative. I don't even need to go that way. I can actually pick another route.
Yeah, yeah. Totally.
I find my frustration, and I'm working on this, is at being frustrated in people who can't see that there are other alternatives than the route that has the boulder. Yeah.
I get frustrated at people who don't. I often, probably wrongfully, consider them closed-minded.
Oh, yeah. I'm very, very good. I'm like, closed-minded or stupid.
Well,
I'm not saying that they're stupid. I'm saying it's my fault for thinking that they're stupid.
I know.
It's not that they're stupid. It's just that they don't have developed adaptability skills. So I didn't, and this conversation with my friend who was a psychologist was around my frustration with this. I'm like, why can't people see this stuff? Why do some people see it and other people don't? Is it just that they lack common sense? Is it that they...
I don't know. I think it's another, and it's probably their genius just falls elsewhere.
Well, it's actually comes under this executive skills thing. So it's just that. So my skills are not finely tuned in such a massive array of things.
Oh right? Yeah, me too, dude.
But my skills in problem solving and adaptability and innovation are so finely tuned because of the environment under which I grew up, and I haven't developed any of the other skills.
Yeah.
And so for me to sit there and I'm not the person that's going to sit there and do monotonous shit all day, every day. I can do it for a set amount of time, as long as it's working towards executing a problem.
Totally.
So I can do that, but doing it for no reason.
Oh, I can't deal with that at all.
The other one I know that I can't do is I just can't be a parent.
You're not going to do it, huh?
I've just decided.
I bet you could, but
I mean, I'm sure.
Neither here nor there. It doesn't matter.
But
I'm not here to convince you.
No. But thank you, because most of my another sour one. Most of my friends
no
who
thanks,
have
Mexico.
They're organic. I don't understand why.
That's probably why organic coffees also taste like this sometimes.
Right?
Certified organic.
Certified organic.
The organic practices ones still seem to taste good. Weird, huh?
Keep your eye on this battery. As soon as it starts flashing, we're going to take that out.
Okay. We'll have to cut it off.
So, like, for me, I was always trying to convince myself that I should have children, that I should be a parent. And I realized, actually, I'm not going to be any good at that. I'm great with kids and they love me and whatnot, but dedicating my focus to raising a child, and no matter what anybody says, there's the role of being a mother versus being a father. They're very different roles. They've both got the same vision to raise great children, but the maternal aspect of that is based on evolutionary stuff, is in the adaptability of a woman needing to take care of the cubs and whatnot. It's not for me, and I'd be terrible at it. And
awesome.
which was devastating, to be honest.
Okay.
Because I thought I've got such finely tuned executive skills, not being able to execute something like that was learning that was one of the things that I wasn't going to be any good at.
Right. Was hard. Was
really hard, and that I didn't want to do it. And
so it felt like you were failing at something before you even, but you weren't.
Because I kind of had this vision for what my life was going to look like.
Right.
And then I realized,
just based on what everybody. Yeah.
And then and the roles that had been carved out for me by the culture that I came from, I'd never really seen that I was going to be a business owner. I never intended ever to be a business owner.
Samesies.
I was shocked when I realized, actually, I could be really good at this. I was going to be in the corporate world my whole life.
Right.
And then when I left that to do music and coffee, it was strange to me, and I thought, oh, someone's going to wake me up from this bullshit.
Yeah.
Because I've been to university and I've done a genetics degree, so clearly I'm going to do something smart people do, right? And then I end up doing music and coffee. Not that that's not what smart people do, but I was conditioned to believe that's not what smart people do.
You get your graduate degree, you're going to go do a thing.
I'm going to be an important person.
Yeah, totally. You're going to wear a suit and sit at a desk.
Right, and I tried that and went,
or in a
yuck.
lab. Yeah, it's terrible.
And
for me.
And for me. But then learning that I wasn't any good at that either. I'm like, well, what am I going to fucking do if I'm not any good at this? Maybe this is just my lot.
Interesting.
And then the more that I'm finding my own confidence, the more I'm realizing I get to decide that everything is a possibility, which is new. Well, when I say new, it's new 5 years new.
Yeah.
Like making
you had a realization. You were like, oh, light bulb.
It was super, going back to like the idea of things being formative.
Right.
You work with people and you feel caged and you feel restrained, and for me it was a lot of, well, what am I bringing to the table that's not making this flow? Like, is it all me?
Right.
For a long time it was yes. It's all me, it's all me, it's all me. And unfortunately I was picking the wrong employers. I have a long list of employers.
Okay. So that's partially why you're so passionate about making sure that people pick the right employers.
Dude, I could tell you some stories in the coffee industry. Happy to tell them too. Of just being a woman in the industry, the things that different employers would say to me, because I was a strong woman. I didn't even understand that I was a strong woman. I wasn't trying to be a strong woman. I was just being me.
Right.
And being fired from places because, well, and this is a quote, let's be real, Lee, my ego can't take you working for me because people think that this is your business.
Oh, that one.
You know, it's
that's like a compliment, actually.
It's a mind fuck. That's what that is.
Well, no, it's a not to get fired. The compliment is that people think that you own the business. That's a compliment to an owner.
Absolutely. And
I want like everybody to think that there's like 9 people that work for me that own the business.
And the confusion from my perspective in that, shouldn't you be happy to have an employee that treats this business as though it's their business and wants to execute the best, and having a long succession of men that I'd worked for that couldn't see that as a positive thing, kept convincing me that I was doing this the wrong way.
That's so
and it was an absolute
weird
mindfuck
to me. I don't get that at all. And even though it's true, you know, like it happens. It's just I don't understand that.
It was a lot of what helped me, like the it really does lower your confidence.
Totally.
Working for people like that, because you're trying to bring your A game and you're trying to do the best for the business, and they're telling you, but this makes me feel inferior, so I can't have you working for me because I feel less of a man.
I mean, it's crazy that they could even articulate that, because I would kind of assume that's a little bit what happened with myself in the prior place, because everybody thought I was one of the owners as well.
And how did they communicate to you? Did they communicate it to you?
No. I just assume. Trying to figure out what was happening.
That doesn't shock me, given you and I are quite very similar that way.
Well, there's got to be something going on to make it so weird, when from my side it shouldn't be weird at all. I'm just trying to crush it for you.
When this person actually said it to me, I was in, it's a cafe in LA, they're still there. For anyone who gives a fuck, it's actually on Fairfax, and I have no problem naming who it is, but I won't. And it's in West Hollywood, and I hope that motherfucker watches this episode at some point and realizes that he was an absolute prick. But
double guns.
Shout out to Tyler. Anyway, there, I said it. Only because it was there are so many women that so many people, I don't want it to be a gender thing, but there are so many people that come into our industry that are really passionate about doing everything their best. And when they are fronted with employers who bring money to the table, that's what they bring. They bring money, and they want to be the cool cafe owner, and I'm going to open a cafe because it's the thing to do, and then don't have the vision to do the right thing by their staff. This is so going to blow back on me. You know it, right?
It's so amazing. I was like, yes, that was sick as fuck.
I got to tell you, it felt great to do it.
I feel like it did. Proud to be here. That was the sickest thing that's been on the internet.
Well, you know, while we're there, I do want to say one other thing on something like that. The job right before that, I was working at a place on Hollywood and La Brea, and I really hope this does find its way to the person who did this to me. An employee threw me up against a fridge, and another employee witnessed it. I complained to the owner, and the employer was going through an interesting time with pharmaceutical drugs at the time and self-medicating for recreational purposes. And when I complained to them, the employer said, let's face it, Lee, he just did what we all wanted to do.
These are such weird things to hear. I can't even, it makes my skin crawl.
Now, the reason, and I know this is going to come back on me. And I know.
But people have to speak up about this stuff.
Right, and that's the main reason that I'm talking about it, is because if we don't start saying that this shit is happening,
right,
I've got to, it really feels weird to say all of it outside of my head, to be honest with you.
Map that shit forward.
Yeah, but
the only way to move through it is talk about it.
So, you know, I was working at this place, and it still exists. It's on Hollywood and La Brea, in West Hollywood in Los Angeles, and I could not believe these words come out of this owner's mouth.
So intense.
And then when I walked up to him and said, "Are you after?" Like, I was mind fucked by it.
Right. What do you even say to that? You gotta take a minute.
Well, so I walked up to him a few minutes later. He was on the bar, and I said to him, "Are you really not going to do anything about that?" And he said, let's be real, Lee, you'll never leave. And I said, what do you mean? He said, you don't have the confidence to quit this job.
What? Who are these people? It's so mentally manipulative.
But he also knew that I was going through a very vulnerable time in my life, and he was using that against me.
Ew.
And so this was a very, very empowering moment in my life. And I said to him, what did you just say to me, Santi? Name drop?
It's happening. Just you're dropping.
I am. Look, I want
these are real stories.
I want
if this is happening elsewhere, yeah.
I want this podcast to be about the real truths.
Jeez.
I said to him, what did you just say to me? And he said, you'll never leave. Right at that moment, it was like the moment stretched out for so long.
Right.
And I was having this conversation in my head of, look, Lee, this is a really defining moment in your life. Either he's right or he's wrong. Which is it going to be? So I turned around, walked to the back, and I was shaking while I was doing it.
Yeah, because you want to punch him in the face.
Well, also because he was another aggressor in my life, and my life has been filled with aggressors. He was another aggressor in my life who was taking advantage of my vulnerability, and this is something that all women face all the time.
Right, the power dynamics are gnarly.
And I was in a financially vulnerable place in my life, and I was in a country that I didn't know a lot of people, and he was going to take advantage of that.
Sheesh.
And as I was walking out the back, I'm like, can you do this? Of course you can do this. You've done all the other stuff in your life that you thought that was going to be really hard.
Right.
So what are you going to do right now? And it was like an out-of-body experience. I took off my apron, grabbed my bag, and I walked out.
Sick. And you're all, within 2 days, I better have my paycheck or I'm getting you.
And he didn't pay me the rest of my money. And I was fine with that. In the sense that it was terrifying.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to bask in the enormous moment it was in my life.
Right. You stepped through that place of fear and whatever, just that place that you hadn't stepped through before.
And it was really eye-opening to me that your work life can actually be a healing place if you let it. Yeah, because that whole experience doubled back on me a couple years ago at Expo, when he kind of blindsided me, the same guy, and walked up to me, and I was, by this point in Expo, people had been seeing that we were walking around giving out secret bottles of elixir.
Yeah.
This was the year that I met you.
Yeah.
And he saw me and came up to me and he's like, Lee, so good to see you, hugs and whatnot. And I was taken off guard and I just went with it. And I remember going back to my hotel room thinking I needed a shower. But also I was so disappointed in myself for all the reasons of why did you let that happen? Why did you let him cross a boundary?
Because it makes him feel like everything's fine.
And I thought, at some point, I have to fix that for myself. And I guess I've just done that.
Bones.
I got to say, I have no idea how this is going to splash back on me, but I don't care. Just because
I don't think it should splash back negatively on you at all. If those are real stories, I mean, not if, but those are real stories.
And there are so many of them. That I talk to so many people in our industry, particularly women, who have to put up with this kind of intimidation from people.
It's pretty hefty.
And I don't consider myself a weak woman at all.
No, I feel like you can take it and dish it pretty hardcore, but I mean, those are some pretty gnarly things. That's more than just like banter, you know?
No, banter's one thing.
Yeah,
banter's
good
fun.
Banter.
I'm fine at banter, but I guess my history at those points, with bullying and with, I come from I was raised in the Arab culture. So for us, women are less, you know. Right.
Yeah, culturally.
Yeah. And so I had come from that.
Did you have the cover and everything?
No, because my family are Catholic.
Yeah.
So, but the Catholic, it's not necessarily just a religious part of the culture, it's the traditional part of the culture.
No, totally.
Where the gender roles are what they were. And so growing up in two different kinds of with two different messages. I was born in Australia in the 70s, and I came up where gender roles were still quite, you know, as much as people wanted to say that the Arabs were repressive, white culture was still repressive to women as well.
Right.
Just less so.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, you know, women had started going to university and it was becoming a big deal, and less women were becoming housewives, and I was right at the transition of that. And my parents were always really insistent on education and having a career and all of that kind of stuff, which was great. But there was this aspect of, well, how do you couple that with women aren't as capable as men?
Ugh.
So it was a total head fuck.
Gosh.
It was, I don't know how I'm supposed to be awesome, but also supposed to be less.
Totally.
And then
oh man, you just make go on.
No, go on.
No, I don't have anything. I just have. It's just I got. So you know me, right? You've actually like met me and talked to me, and like you haven't come to my cafe, but you've seen how I deal with human beings.
Right.
So we had, when we were looking to get hires at Cat and Cloud, we did our podcast and we made this stupid joke because a lot of dudes were writing in. And so in the podcast, we made the joke like, hey, girls, don't be scared to write in. We won't hit on you.
I remember hearing that.
Yeah. And
thinking you were going to cop a fuck ton of shit over that.
Well, we copped some shit, for sure. But what was mostly gnarly is that some people, I'm not going to go there because these people have had it out for me specifically since then. Like their life goal is to just try to take me down. It feels like
these are people with small penises.
No, they're women.
What?
Yeah. These are not dudes. These are women.
Wow.
And so they hit me up and they're like, "Here's the reason no girls are ever going to work for you. You've got bro culture,
social justice warriors."
Yeah. So you've got bro culture. You've got this. They sent me all these articles about bro culture, and I'm like, I don't identify with these at all. And it was I was like, come meet me, come see.
Have a phone call.
Well, you're not even very far. You're in San Francisco. Like, drive the hour and a half and just come see what we're doing and talk to my team. Don't hear my. Unfortunately, I grew up. I'm still learning. Like I grew up with. I'm gonna say this. Sorry ahead of time. Where people use fag all the time, that was what we did. It was, and it was like in rap, and it was normal, and that was. It did not mean what it.
It wasn't the derogatory
term. It wasn't
term.
What we were. Yeah, and it totally is. So like I get it, right?
But in the culture you used it.
I grew up. That's what everybody said. Everybody dropped N-bombs like idiots because that's what rappers did, and it's like I learned, but I also still said jokes like that, like we're not going to hit on you or whatever. Had more dudes on our podcast. So this person wrote me, right? And I tried to be vulnerable with them and help them see where I came from. So they're like, you don't have enough women on our podcast. And I was like, you're not wrong. Here's, just so you know, here's what I do. I have a certain amount of people in my phone that I have their phone numbers and I text them and I email them. And most of them are dudes because I'm married and I don't actually go out on my way to meet new women.
Gee, how inconsiderate of you.
So they did not understand that at all. They tried to take
They haven't been married then.
No, they definitely have not. And I was like, when I go to these things, here we are, SCA. They're typically fueled by after parties where you drink and hang out, and it's really easy to flirt. And I'm somebody of history and sort of status in this industry. Mm-hmm. And what made me extra annoyed is that you people who are accusing me of this should understand that there's already a power dynamic there that newer, younger girls and or dudes who would be interested in flirting and getting attention from somebody who has status in an industry might want to do that. And I told them straight up, I was like, I don't want to be the kind of person who drinks and puts myself in a position to enjoy that attention because everybody does, and when you're drinking it's extra easy to do it. I tried to like break it down and get them in my mind, and they were not having it.
No.
And they did not give a fuck.
No.
And I was like, how can you not understand that I don't disagree with you that we don't have a lot of women on here. I don't know a lot of extra women. I don't have them on my phone. And sure, we'll look forward to it. But can you at least hear my position and not just tell me that I have bro culture? Tell me that I don't care about women. Tell me that I'm trying to like do all these things that are negative to women. And it was just, and so ultimately I ended up being like, I tried to justify, and then I actually finally got mad because they wouldn't drop it. And I was like, I don't need you to like, my identity doesn't have anything to do. Yeah, and I should have just not engaged at all. No, but I was trying to be nice and engage at first.
Right.
The rest of like Charles and Chris were like, I'm not answering this email. I'm not even going to respond. And
the fact that you did shows that you're not what they're trying to, and I have no need to defend you purely because I know you.
Well, yeah, and you actually know me, right?
I actually know you, and I have no reason to make you out to be anything other than what you're not. You know, you and I connected because you're, to use a word that gets overused a lot, but you're authentic. You actually are always speaking your mind. You're not trying to be something. You're not trying to cover up. Oh, I'm actually
that's true.
a real.
I'm not trying to cover it up.
That's what I'm saying.
Right. I was like trying to let you in.
Yeah. You're not like this secret kind of misogynist, or like you want to just look. Have you heard of this blacklist that exists on the internet?
This blacklist that exists? What's that? No.
Okay. There's a blacklist on the internet. I've seen it. I don't have a copy of it, so please, anyone who reads it, who listens to this, don't send me an email asking me for a copy of this blacklist. There's a blacklist that exists on the internet of men who have sexually harassed and sexually abused women in the coffee industry.
Oh, in the coffee industry?
In the coffee industry.
Specifically. Interesting.
This exists in a group of coffee professionals.
Yeah.
And no men are allowed in this group. So the list exists. I was invited into the group. I was very concerned when I saw the list. And I know a bunch of people on that list.
Right.
The reason I mention this list is because they are the kind of men who you would swear, if you didn't know much about them, that when you first meet them, they're such lovely men. And they kind of have this great intention for the industry, and there's no way they'd ever be like that. And then on the other side of things, they're absolute pricks. They treat women like shit. They sexually harass women that work for them. They have this whole other persona.
Right.
You are not like that at all.
Thank you.
In every sense of the word. When you meet you and you sit down with you and you talk with you, everything that comes out of your mouth is who you are. You're not trying to create a persona for people and then you have it. Like,
I'm actually bad at it. Look at my social media.
Yeah, you and I are not the kind of people who can fake something. Like,
I just am not. Yeah.
It's just not how it goes. And so when you're actually responding to these kinds of emails, it's because you're trying to show people a way in to validate your experience as much as their experience.
I totally did want validation. I wanted it to be like, look, I understand where you're coming from. That is not me, and there's just because, same thing I said earlier, just because I look like a bro, talk like a bro, does not 100% make me a bro.
What you're trying to push onto me isn't who I am, and I need you to know that it really isn't who I am, because I don't want this out there that I'm some philandering kind of flirt that...
Totally. Well, it was even deeper than that, dude. It was like, gosh. I mean, it all even started because another girl wrote in after all, like, kind of in conjunction with all this, and basically said, make me your roastery manager to prove that you're not this.
Fuck that. No.
Oh, no, I know. And I'm like, and so, but even beyond all that, they didn't use our names, my name actually, but they threatened, and more than threatened, they sent, and I don't know what parts of the email thread they sent, because I feel like if somebody read through the whole thing and saw the context, they would not, but they sent and or threatened to send like parts of the email to all the women in the industry and like rise up against, and it was before my company even opened. And I was like, okay, well, I was like, look, I don't know what it's like to be a woman, so I'm not going to weigh in on any more of this stuff. Obviously, I have a lot to learn. I am sorry. Let's talk sometime. And we haven't talked. But the last time I saw this person, they just like ice cold comes to me like, we still have to talk. And I'm like, never mind.
we don't.
I'm never going to talk to you again.
No, we don't.
Because this is just like a big waste of my time. You're actually just out to get me. You're not actually out to help anybody. You're kind of whistleblowing something.
That doesn't need
and you
blowing.
won't even come down and just talk to the human beings that work with and around me to find out for yourself what's going on. You want to take what words I have and find a way to twist them and make me an asshole.
And this is my problem with this whole social justice warrior bullshit that's going on. It's all about how can I beat a drum that's so fucking loud for the sake of beating a drum that's really loud. I'm not actually trying to get anywhere and resolve anything or find some peace about it.
Yeah.
And that should be, if somebody is doing some social advocacy, which there, you know, for some reason there's a whole bunch of it happening in our industry that's unnecessary. The Dubai thing is a great example of that. A whole bunch of people have a problem with us taking, for those who don't know, there was gonna be a competition happening and an expo in Dubai, and there was a huge uproar about it, and which led there to be new rules about deferred candidacy. That what that basically means is that if you qualify and there's an event happening somewhere where you can't attend for one or feel unsafe in attending, you can defer that candidacy so that you can compete the next year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
going to defer and be the best barista ever because I'll get double the training time.
The American
strategy. Okay, sorry. Go on.
Strategy.
Yeah. I feel unsafe in Seattle.
Well, it became a real problem because, and it was, who was it? Ashley Rodriguez wrote an article for Barista Mag, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Boss Barista.
Mm-hmm.
She wrote an article about that because she was in China at the time, or Korea, and she was walking the floor and asking people what they thought about this issue, and wrote an article that sounded kind of like, I appreciate that she was just reporting what had actually happened, because it sounded like it went against her grain a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Because the general consensus on the floor is, when she was saying to people, what do you think about this decision? And most people who weren't Americans were saying, it's not a big deal. It actually works really well, because if you're not American, you can't get a visa to lots of countries.
Right.
And so deferred candidacy really helps, so that perhaps if I can't get a visa, if the competition is being held in America, which...
It almost always is.
Right.
Well, that's not true. But it has, yeah.
But if you're, let's say you are in Iraq, to use an extreme example, and you qualify as a national champion, and the competition is being held in America, there's no fucking way that you're getting a visa to compete in the Worlds.
Totally. And that almost happened whenever it was here last.
Yeah. And I think it was the guy from Iran.
It was Iran, yeah. Because Layla has a big advocate for him.
Right. And so the people who I've never met her, I just read the article, but she was saying, well, what seems to be happening is that the only people who really think that this is a problem is Americans. And the reason they think it's a problem is because going to Dubai, if you're gay or gender fluid or trans or any of the above, you can't express yourself in your true form of authenticity. And
then you're like, hey, welcome to the rest of the world.
Right.
Pretty much literally all the time.
Look, dude, this shit exploded on, I made a comment on Facebook when Joe Morocco wrote how proud he was that SCA had made the decision to pull out of Dubai.
Mm-hmm.
And I really wasn't saying anything other than, I really was not.
You weren't meaning more, yeah.
No, I was just, all I wrote was, hey, listen, for what it's worth, I have loads of friends.
You're flashing. Go on.
I'm going to undo this so that we can still get the sound.
Okay. So sound quality will drop now.
Sound quality will drop a wee bit, but we will move this closer.
Cool.
up, and it's still picking it up, so that's great.
Yeah, no, we're good. Just different quality.
Right. We should have got those batteries when we went for coffee, but
who knew, dude? We're fine. We're like an hour and a half. People got plenty of interest.
This microphone keeps dropping my top anyway. Let's put it all out there.
Everybody.
As well as like all the
we're taking this to NC-17 real quick. YouTube flagged.
Yeah, no, our volume's fine.
I'm loud AF.
You are. But so he wrote, really proud of SCA, and, as far as I'm concerned, if everybody can't be included in everything that we do, then we're not doing a good enough job. And I simply wrote, just so you know, guys, like, I have loads of friends who are gay in Dubai.
I actually read that. Yeah, I remember.
That conversation went mental.
Did it? Yeah, I didn't follow. I just saw you wrote that.
And I kind of thought it was just adding something constructive to the conversation, because I have no interest in this going one way or the other.
Right. People often forget that.
Right. Yeah. I am not a social justice warrior. I am somebody who looks at things with, well, is this fair or isn't it fair? Is this reasonable? Isn't it reasonable?
Right.
Can we push the boundaries on the way that I'm thinking? Am I being limiting in the way that I'm thinking?
Yeah. I hate definites. I can't think in definites.
And the blowback I got from writing that was maniacal. It got so ridiculous that the next morning I wrote to Joe. So he had 400 comments on that whole thread. 200 of them were under my comment.
Was it like, how dare you know gays there? What is it? I mean, I don't understand it. You just make a statement that says you know gay people there.
It was clearly you don't understand the experience of somebody who's not exactly how you are. I'm like, what exactly does that mean? Like what? A coffee professional? They said, as a cisgender, straight white woman, you should probably check your privilege.
That's the line, yeah.
That's the inaccurate, typical cop-out line that I keep getting. Why don't you tell me about my privilege as a woman who was raised an Arab in a world that's male-dominated? Yeah, sure, bring me my privilege.
Right.
I just gave you 2 stories that show you how much privilege I have. I definitely have more privilege than other people.
Yeah.
But that's not saying that I am exactly what you're describing. And so then I copped.
I hate getting boxed in. I understand the frustration of being boxed in.
It fucking annoys me. And we have far too much of it that goes on in our industry and in every industry and in life. But that proceeded to, if you can't understand the gay experience, you have no business commenting on it. So, but I wasn't commenting on it. All I was saying was...
Right. You know,
I have friends who are gay
and they're okay.
And they have lived there for many, many, many years. I know loads of gay people. I have friends that work for Emirates and they're not nationals.
Right.
I also know people who are nationals who live a gay life in Dubai.
Right.
And they haven't been slaughtered like what you're suggesting is going to happen. Also, if you're a trans person heading to compete, what exactly are you going to do that's going to alert somebody to your sexual promiscuity and going to cause you to be thrown in jail?
Right, you're just going to go do your competition and leave.
Right.
So what's the problem?
Are you going there to let everybody know that you're trans?
Right.
Are you going there to compete, or are you going there to be a social advocate for something?
Right, what's your intention?
Right, and if your intention is to go and compete, you're really not going to be going anywhere. No, like, let me tell you, no one gives any fucks about what you're wearing.
Right.
They really don't. Like, there are people that are over there in tiny little shorts and almost nothing on, and they're walking around in the streets and nothing happens to them. People give 0 fucks about if you're born one gender and wearing something else. They really don't care. And I know this from experience of being in Dubai with trans people.
Right.
And they tried to wipe the fucking floor with me. And like you, I engaged in the thinking that I might be able to present an opportunity for them to push past their thinking.
Right. And just to understand where I'm coming from, knowing that I'm not coming from a weird place.
No, that was the intention. Of like, listen, hey, I'm not this person who does this crazy shit. I'm not trying to persuade you one way or the other. I'm just trying to show you that I'm not actually this prick that you're trying to make me out to be. And I'm not closed-minded. I'm open to everything.
Yeah, maybe that there's other viewpoints that aren't wrong or right, just different.
So the next morning I just messaged Joe and said to him, listen, I'm just letting you know that I have the intention when you're ready to just delete my original comment, because I understand that there was a whole bunch of great conversation that went on there for you.
Right.
But I don't want this on the internet anymore, because I want the contribution I make to the internet to be positive.
Mm-hmm.
I want it to be something that people find enriching and possibly and hopefully thought-provoking and balanced. But this turned into vicious attacks. And it's your thread, and there's a lot of content that comes after my comment, and that content will disappear. So I just want you to know that I'm going to be deleting it soon. And he said to me, he was so shocked by how much vitriol was on that thread that he was thinking of deleting the whole post.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he's got a really good heart, you know.
He does.
Yeah.
He
That's
does.
so gnarly. People are gnarly. They're angry.
Yeah, like people just want to be seen to be having a voice. Like, it doesn't matter if it's a constructive voice or not, but they just want to fuck shit up. Like, and what the crazy part about it is a lot of these people are really young.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I are all about looking into the future. What the fuck are people going to think when they Google them in 10 years? When they're going for really serious kinds of management positions in our industry?
I don't know. I don't know where they're going anyway, to be honest with you. It makes... Maybe they're just starting social... I mean, that's what's interesting to me, right? It's like, if you're going to do what some of these people are doing, I would hope you have an end goal. And I would assume that most of them think they're going to maybe get famous, because, like, maybe now's the time.
Do you reckon that's what it is?
I don't know. I'm just guessing, right? It's like, if I'm trying to put myself into the mindset. It's like, okay, I want to make a change and I want to be positive, hopefully, even if I assume that's what they're trying to do. I would assume they're trying to make a positive change, even though they're probably going about it in a really negative, harsh way.
Do you really think that?
I do think that, actually. I think that they're severely young a lot of the time, like you said, and they're severely singular in their viewpoints. And while claiming to be really broad in their acceptance, they're really not, they're actually really accepting only this group of people who have honestly been sort of outcasted, and that is who they support, and then everybody else is actually...
everybody else.
Yeah. So really, and it's like, I don't know what it is. I don't know. But I assume they're trying to do something positive. They're just doing it in such a poor way, and they're not doing it in an open-minded way themselves, and then they're just claiming everybody else isn't open-minded.
Yeah, and I see what's going on from what I'm seeing. I see it as detrimental. I think
it's dangerous.
That's the best word for it. It's dangerous. If we don't learn how to communicate these things with the intention of hearing each other.
Yeah. Empathy first.
Right. And compassion.
Yes.
Right? So I was attacked on there because I apparently don't understand other people's viewpoint. And I said, show me how I'm telling you I don't understand people's viewpoint. So encouraging them and inviting them to...
What are my words saying that are leading you to feel this way?
Help me understand how I communicated that so I can better communicate
that. I'm just trying to understand things.
Right. And what my understanding of social justice warriorism and what I'm perceiving of that is that you're not trying to necessarily improve something for people. You just want me to see it just your way.
Yes.
And that's not constructive.
Yeah, and unfortunately, in a mind like mine, it's impossible to only see it your way.
Yeah.
I can, and that's going to be just like a human thing. But I'm still going to take what you say and then weigh it against everything else I can learn to get my own personal decision on what I feel like is the best. And I want to be accepting no matter what, but that's just how my brain works.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about this issue, I'm just talking about how my brain works.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's like, you're going to tell me something, and I'm going to hear the same subject from whatever, Matt Perger's mouth, and Scott Rayo's mouth, and Baca's mouth, and Charles's mouth, and Kristen's mouth, and Tanner's mouth, and then I'm going to take all of that, and then I'm going to be like, I loved that, and that, and that, and that, and that all makes sense to me, and this is how I'm going to perceive it.
And you're going to process it like a super processor.
Hopefully.
Yeah, and spit it out in about 3.5 seconds.
And people will be like, what the fuck are you talking about?
That? Because they haven't seen all the steps that you've got to...
I'm a psycho. I'm liable to go Michael. Take your pick.
I'm in good company then.
Jackson, Michael, Jordan. Game 6.
Oh dear. You know, there's still 3 conversations going on in our heads with all of this as well, so at least. What are you looking forward to at Expo? What are you doing at Expo?
I'm doing the Map It Forward event, and I am doing a little bit at a booth, and then I'm attending Charles Jack's lecture on...
that sounds like it's going to be exciting.
That'll be a good one. Yeah, a lot of good information in there.
And dude, he's such a great human.
He's a great human, and he's got, if you want to have some more insights on how to run a successful coffee business, you can see exactly how we do it. We show you some of our real numbers.
Oops. The blueberries are going everywhere. Well, where is he going to be doing that?
The lecture hall, the lecture hall. It's across the street from the convention center.
Can I go to that?
I think so.
How do you go to it?
If you have a pass to the event, you can go to it.
Okay.
Yeah. Unless you have only a competition pass. I think those are the cheap ones where you can just only go see the USBC.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have a general pass to the exhibition floor. That's the word. You can go to everything. Go.
Yeah, go. Charles is such a great human, honestly, and he's such a smart person.
He is.
And he's such an open-hearted and open-minded person.
He is. He's amazing.
I'm seriously not blowing smoke up his ass. Like 5 seconds with him, and you come to see like this is one of these humans that should be leading our industry.
Mm-hmm. And he's going to show you.
Don't tell them, but all 3 of them are actually those kinds of humans.
That's me. And Charles.
And
Chris.
Baca. Where none of them are here.
George Baca. I'm just pointing at their essence. Actually, they're on Capitol Hill. That's what they text me.
Where in Capitol Hill?
I don't know. I didn't answer. You told me to flip it over. Flip it over. Flip it close.
Tell them they're more than welcome to come by.
Ooh. They're headed to Tillicum Place for lunch. 47 minutes ago. They're probably already eating. Sorry, Chuck.
Sorry, Chuck. We're eating blueberries instead. And other great things. So we're doing a thing on Friday.
Yeah, please come.
Please come.
It's going to be sick AF.
What are we going to be doing?
We're going to be talking about how to map a successful career as a barista and or map yourself into a different career, but through that lens.
Yeah, that's a really great way to put it. Like, we're going to help people... Excuse me for talking with my mouth full.
Talk with your mouth full. That's what real people do.
We're going to be talking about this idea that people can have a really great career in coffee.
Yes.
But it's so much more than working in coffee, as we've talked about for the last hour and a half.
Yeah. And I also would like to add that as a business owner, 18 years into this industry, I can still wake up excited to make coffee in the morning as a barista, and I actually look forward to it on the 2 days a week that I get to.
What is your favorite thing about being on bar?
Making coffee taste good and talking to people. And then it's just the whole thing. It's like it's a big fun show where you get to just interact and melt people's faces, and every time they're like, this is the perfect mocha, or this is the perfect, this espresso tastes like, and, oh, the boss is making coffee, and I'm like, yeah, I love it, that's why I opened the business. Stuff like that.
Tell me the face melter story.
Which one?
The face melter at competition.
Face melter at competition?
Didn't you pull a shot for a minute?
No, that's out of the lore. That's amazing. No, but I did put like 30 grams of coffee into a shot. That was the same.
That's the face melter, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. So the face melter is, when we first opened Verve, we had the street level espresso was like a 5-bean blend, and we'd pull it with like 24 grams of coffee, and it was like 18 grams out at 42 seconds.
Sorry.
And then we call them face melters.
Close enough to a minute, bro.
And yeah, it's 42. Rounding up. So the funny part is, it just tasted like a little chocolate sauce. Like I think how people describe.
That's being very generous.
No. Yeah, well, who knows? If I went back now, I'd be like, oh shit, what were you doing? But at the time,
you just sat there and went, this is the new thing we're going to put in mochas because we don't have to add chocolate to mochas, bro. These just taste like chocolate.
Can you imagine with the lattes, the 16-ounce lattes, what it tasted like with 18-gram double espressos in them? They're like, these are kind of milky. And I'm like, I don't get it. There's 24 grams of coffee in there. Because there was. But at competition, I attempted that move. Didn't go well.
I can't imagine why.
Because I had long hair, gauges, and short sleeves.
That was the reason? The shot wasn't the reason?
Of course not. It's all about looks and vibes.
Oh, yeah.
Barista competition is not about skill, you guys. That's a lie. It was definitely not good coffee. It was a six bean blend I called Banquet. Because I liked Block Party. And that song is sick AF. Still.
Such a great movie.
So that's, that happened. Wait, how did we get there?
Because you had said the word face melter and I was talking with Matt
right.
about it.
Yeah.
On the podcast yesterday, I'm like, dude, you have to get them to tell you the story of them in competition and the face melter.
Heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a thing. 42 seconds. Ripped it up. Jealous? I don't pull coffee like that anymore.
So disappointing.
But I do love making coffee for people. And it's fun. I'm efficient and fast, and I like making coffee.
I haven't been yet. I was actually going to get on a plane and surprise you guys the other day and just show up. But then I thought,
then
what if it's not the day that you're there?
Yeah,
I should plan this shit.
On. Yeah, you definitely need to.
So tell me about you guys and pulling... What are you doing with regards to the lungos? Are you doing
coffee now? Yeah, we do 2 different styles of coffee. Our milk espresso is the answer. It's like 19 grams of coffee, 34-ish grams out, and we do it in relatively, high extraction window or time, I should say. Mm-hmm. High ends of the 20s, into the early 30s. The truth is a bigger shot, but it also is a bigger dose. So it's 20 to 20 and a half grams in, and we'll pull it up to 45 grams out, and that'll range depending on the coffees. So it's called the truth, and that's more of an experience. So it'll change. The coffees will change. Right now, it's a honey processed Indonesian coffee because it tasted like you wouldn't expect. Yeah, it's gone like this coming week, and then we'll move on to I think a single origin coffee from Guatemala. But it'll be a blend sometimes. It'll be a Kenya Guat blend before that. It was the Farmer X, which everybody gets to have, and that coffee's next level. Farmer X, Variety X. It's not Farmer X. I always say Farmer X because it sounds badass. It's like Xavier.
It says Farmer X on the bag.
Maybe that's why.
Yeah.
I think we just called it Farmer X to make it cooler.
I'm like, are they being really elusive about
the elusive Farmer X
is?
From Pitalito. Anyway. That coffee was insane. It was on there for a little while. We only had like 50 pounds. And so that's on the elixir for anybody who's coming to this, and I can't wait to just chug it. So yeah, we pull those coffees a little bit bigger.
What do they taste sweeter. Like? So
very sweet and complex, and we aim for clean, sweet finish.
So compared to an espresso,
yeah.
I just had a...
Sweet bloom, or a shot.
Way to throw me under the bus.
I didn't, it was just we had a coffee from, I don't even know what coffee it was. Maybe it was, well, shit.
So, fuck. Okay, so I just had a coffee, and I'll describe that different.
Not like that.
So, I had like a little bit of water with a double espresso on top, and it tasted a certain way.
A classic Abierto, open.
Right.
I just said that right now. I don't know what I'm talking about. Yes. I have ADD. If you can't tell, it's starting to kick in for real.
I'm thinking, we should wrap up soon. Okay. But how is the experience different to, let's say we were using your coffee to have what I just had, so a small long black. How is what you're pulling going to taste different than that?
A lot.
No, but describe it to me.
Okay, so yesterday I actually had my first Americano with the answer, and I was extremely blown away. And I had a 6-ounce all in with only the 34 grams of coffee, and it was round. It was chocolatey. It had a little bit of the fruit. That's a 3-bean blend in there. But if you were to take the same coffee with that Kirancini honey, which is what we have right now with the Indo, extremely like caramely sweet, which is weird for a Indo, like candy caramel, a little tiny bit of that purple fruit because it's honey, and then it's got a really clean long finish, and it does have a touch of that Sumatra earth, but it's such in the background that it's almost non-existent for people who don't taste coffee like we taste coffee.
Okay.
But for it, and it's quite a bit brighter too. It's a really like juicy coffee. So the fruit in it is a little more citric in that one. Actually, we'll go on to Costa Rica next, the Tonio, and that's a little bit more malic and like a little more pear cherry sort of vibes.
So this extraction method that you do through your espresso machine, that you pull it long.
Oh, you're talking about coffee though. I haven't talked about that. That's not what I was just talking about our espresso.
Okay.
Because we were talking about an espresso drink.
Yeah. So that extraction method that goes through your espresso machine.
Yeah, 3 bars. Yeah. That's 3 bars. That's just a 1 to 16.5 ratio, which is the coffee ratio that I like.
It goes for a minute? Does it take
it'll take like 80 seconds.
Okay.
About. And then temperature wise, we started actually really hot and we've dropped it down to, we run it at 194 degrees.
So when you do that, because I haven't tasted that extraction method before.
Yeah.
I've heard of people that have had it.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to understand, especially when we teach about this kind of stuff, we talk about like there's optimum parts of the extraction method. How do you achieve the sweetness that you're talking about at such a long pull? Is it the temperature that's playing a role in that?
The pressure's lower. It's at 3 bar.
Okay.
So pressure's at 3 bar. It's basically line pressure.
Is it pulsing?
It does pull only at the beginning. So there's a pulse at the beginning.
For pre-infusion?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So it's like a 3-second pulse, and then it goes off for like 15 seconds, and then kicks back on. And that's just for pre-infusion. You do have to like so we have the EK grinder, right? But you do have to dial in each coffee to its specific spot on the EK grinder.
Yeah.
But ultimately, the sweetness actually doesn't go because of the way we roast our coffee. So like the extraction yield is right. It's more just like making sure that the coarseness or the fineness is correct, so that you don't either get drying or just like watery sour coffee. So that's a little bit on us as the barista's quality control. But as far as like a ratio goes, if you picture like it's the right amount of coffee to the right amount of water as far as that goes. And
that's like everything,
right, it's a recipe.
Yeah.
And then the approach is sort of similar, right, to an AeroPress. Mm-hmm. We would say but it is a relatively new way of brewing coffee. And
are other people doing it? You're the first guys that I know.
I think we're the first using it in our cafes. That's not true. We're the first loud people that use it in our cafes.
We're the first loud people.
The reason I say that is I think I posted some pictures of it, and I think I saw 1 or 2 people say like, we do that too, but they're not really known cafes, at least nationally or internationally. I think that there's still, it's fantastic, and I think that we still are going to continue to hone it and make it extra awesome.
Do you drink it?
I do drink
one of your preferred drinks?
No, because I drink espresso.
Straight espresso.
I am always espresso. And then I will go back and forth, and it depends on what coffees we're offering in there, but I typically end up just drinking espresso. I don't drink a ton of coffee, I taste a ton of coffee.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
I can't drink. Yeah.
It's like an espresso and a cup of something, and I like something different every day. So yeah, it'll either be off of there or I'll brew some whatever, and we have a single origin offering on tap also. If
you were to pull that same espresso, the way that I had the espresso this morning, over some water.
Oh, I pull it different.
Compare the same coffee as an espresso on water versus this new extraction method you're talking about.
Oh, pretty different.
So what comes forward and...
So, with like the coffee that you had today, right? It was... You get some of that flavor that comes with crema.
Right.
You don't have that as much in this at all, even though you're brewing it through an espresso
So it is
machine.
quite more like AeroPress.
It's 100% more like AeroPress and more like a coffee.
Even though it's being pulled through an espresso machine.
Yeah, you lose a lot of that. There's a little bit of that. There can be a little bit of that like tannic flavor if you over extract it that happens in espresso. That's kind of only in espresso. You don't get it through AeroPress or.
Yep.
But other than that, no, it's far much. It's so a lot more.
Completely different experience.
It's like a 10-ounce cup of coffee through the machine.
Fuck.
Yeah, we brew all 10 ounce. It's a 10-ouncer, so it's 20 grams to whatever 340 whatever that math is.
340 mils.
40, yeah, is that right? Yeah.
Something like that, 300.
Yeah, it's like dancing.
8 ounces is...
I'll do the math right now. How about this?
You just want to check your messages.
No, watch this. There's 7 of them now. 30 times, hold the phone, 20 times 16.5 equals 330.
Yeah.
So, that's what we brew. And we're doing it on the ABR downtown, so it's exact, which is awesome. So we'll put it into mass, actually we put it into ratio mode. So that way we pre-dose the 20 grams, but if it's up or down like a 0.1 or 0.2, it'll auto-adjust in ratio mode to give us 1 to 16.5.
Wow.
So that's neat. And it's really, really good. So we'll switch out all of our Strata AVs to Strata ABRs just to make sure that consistency is there.
And that's the next evolution that you guys are going through from an equipment point of view?
Yeah, we have ABRs at our downtown location, and we'll have ABRs at all of our future locations, and we'll switch Portola to ABRs as soon as possible.
How many cafes have you got coming up?
2 more coming. 2 now, 2 more coming, one of which has breakfast.
Ooh.
Ew.
Are you going to have options that I might be able to eat?
Yeah. Yeah, we should. Vegan.
Yeah, you should.
Like a vegan, we'll have a vegan option of sorts. And then we'll probably have some Whole30 options too. But I mean, we're not going to like ultra, we're not going to be like, Whole30, vegan. You get a car, you get a car. We're going to like,
just something
they'll be
for
there.
Everyone.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. We'll have like a savory grains situation.
That's exciting.
And we can make that vegan easy.
Nice.
And we do some other fun stuff too.
So, his ADD is kicking in.
I mean, I sat on a plane, then I sat on a train, then I sat in...
Dude, I absolutely get it. We've been talking for...
It's 2 p.m. and all I've done is sit.
And talk. Like, we've been talking
this is me.
Since, like, 10 o'clock this morning.
This is what it'd be like if I was doing double ups.
Well, fuck, CrossFit. We haven't even talked about CrossFit.
Don't worry about it. You just exercise.
It's changed your life, huh?
It's made me healthier. I have a great community. That's my favorite part. Oh, no, it's both the things. It's changed my life, I guess, yeah.
Has it done anything to your brain? The way you see life, the way that you approach business?
I don't know about business, but it definitely is good for my personal brain. Like, I'm stronger, and I know what being really tired is, and I'm pretty proud of myself that I can do really hard work with being really exhausted. And it does help you focus through exhaustion, too, if you're working on technique stuff, which is pretty...
Really?
If you have the right coaches, yeah. For sure. I mean, the whole point is to, like, hit these different stimuluses that your body uses, while a lot of the time it's helping you need to be able to focus to not hurt yourself. And that's what the coaching is supposed to do, is, like, help you get good at that. And, like, how do you react when you're fatigued? So that's been really fun. How can you push through when you feel like you can't to do something that you actually can do? Stuff like that.
I'm always fascinated about that idea of I can't do this or I can't do that. That I see that as a weak mind, but...
I don't feel that way typically either, but there is something that will happen when you're exercising and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired, I should stop. And to be like, nope, I'm not stopping until this is done.
No, I was about to say the only place that I can't from myself is when I exercise.
I think a lot of people feel that way, though. I don't think that's only you. I think that's pretty normal. I felt that way, and I grew up playing sports. I feel that. I mean, geez, yesterday's workout was just like almost 40 minutes straight of like really hard, grueling workout, and you're just like...
Have you ever thrown up?
Not at CrossFit, but yes.
You've come close to...
I've definitely come close to throwing up many times at CrossFit.
What? Like, so...
But that's when you know to back off. You're not supposed to throw up.
Like, why do you want to push yourself to that level of...
I don't think you try to. What happens is you start wanting to... You start seeing... So for me, I start seeing what's doable from potential athletes. Not potential, from athletes in your gym. And you're like, that's doable? Cool. I'm going to try to... That means I can do that. If they can do that, I can do that too. So
it's a competition thing?
It ends up being, it's less a competition to beat, it's more a competition to be like, oh, I can see what's possible, I'm inspired to do better. And then I do want to beat myself, for sure.
Do you consider yourself a competitive person?
I think I am, yeah.
Do you really?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have to win, but I'm competitive with myself. And I've started to become competitive now when people start telling me or telling the world that they're good at, like, business and taking care of people and things like that. And I'm like, oh,
let me show you.
And when people start claiming that and people start talking about people like that and giving them praise, I sometimes find myself jealous or annoyed at that when I disagree. But, like, sports, I wanted to do the best and be really, really good, but I didn't have to win to be okay. I needed to know we did well.
I think that rather than being someone who's competitive, I think that you're a puzzler. I think that...
Okay.
I think that you're... And I was asked this by my psychology friend, that same person. He's like, I don't understand how you can be not competitive and win in business. And I think that people like us look at business as a puzzle and we're looking at how to figure it out and how to solve it rather than win at it.
That's probably true, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
It's not about, I have to be better than everybody else. It's like, well...
What makes it tick?
Yeah, what makes it tick? How can I make it tick more efficiently? What are the pieces in the puzzle that are creating obstacles? And how we make it flow better?
For sure.
And I think that there's a difference between... I see competition as quite a low vibration kind of behaviour.
Right.
I think it's stemmed in ego and all that kind of bullshit. No doubt I'm going to cop a fuck ton of flack over that as well. But I think that you're one of these people who... You look at the way that people are doing things and you just see, how can I unfuck that puzzle?
Yeah. Pretty much. More or less.
Yeah.
No, I mean 100%.
Only because...
it's always like, how does it work? Can it be better? Yeah,
how do
I fix it?
Yeah, you're not that person who's like, I'm going to fuck some shit up.
No.
I'm going to, you know...
It's a 1-9 on the Enneagram, if you must know. It's an idealist. Perfectionist mixed with a... whatever the 9 is, pacifist.
Yeah, you're a pacifist, for sure. And you're an ideologist in the idea of, but a flexible ideologist. You're somebody who, you're not rigid in the way that you see things.
I don't think so, but there are times when no, I'm not rigid. I am strongly opinionated when I feel like I've got the answer, but I'm always willing to be wrong, provided you can prove to me where to improve. But if you just say something, and then it's okay to disagree. If that makes sense. And I'm always able to be coerced to what's better. I don't have to be like the end-all be-all.
And when confronted with people who are mindless fucks, who don't want to have, let's be real, who aren't open-minded and who can't say anything but their own opinion, how do you react to that?
I either I just avoid them, or I sit down and I'd be like, so explain to me, and I'll have to write down and show them exactly, explain to me how this doesn't work or how I'm not right. And
because maybe there's something I can't see that you're seeing. Okay.
Yeah. So again, and I let them in. Yeah, it's like, what am I missing? And then it's either I missed something or, oh, there's more to it that you have a perspective on that I didn't have a perspective on. And I get to maybe teach somebody else another perspective. Was
that a learnt trait for you? Were you somebody who let destructive people into your life and didn't know how to walk away from that?
Probably, because I didn't have any mentors.
No, but did you have shit people in your life? There's a difference.
No, yeah, I'm trying to, when I've had shit bosses. Mm-hmm. So, not, legitimate, not good people as bosses before, Verve, not the Verve guys, they weren't terrible bosses, so... But I had a really shitty boss in Chico who was manipulative and all that stuff, and he got everybody to follow him because he was one of those.
Wow.
Yeah, so, sure. Because people-pleasing and stuff like that was definitely a bigger part of my life than I think it is now, even though it's still there for sure. But now I'm starting to know that it's part of who I am. So.
And it's an alarm that goes off when you're like, oh, I'm doing that thing again.
Yeah, so now I'm starting to be able to see it.
And confidence plays into that. It's this thing of, oh, I don't actually have to do that anymore. Not that I deliberately try to do it, it's that now we're aware of it.
Yeah, now I can address that feeling and be like, okay, I can try to push that feeling to the side. And what's cool in StrengthsFinders is they give you a bunch of action plans or items where it's like, maybe approach like this or this or this, and it's like 10 of them, and it's like, pick the ones that are the most, that resonate the most with you out of your top, and there's like 10 per top 5.
Wow.
And I've actually learned a few things from that, and I'm like, oh, cool. So, one of which was like, associate yourself with somebody with individualization, which is Kristen, and make sure that you're connected to an activator, which is Tanner, and I'm like, cool, I've done that naturally, and make sure that you set yourself up a lot of time for thinking and strategic planning, and make sure you have the freedom to do that, or else you're not going to be able to whatever, and read, and all these things that are starting to come to play, and I'm like, cool, this makes total sense.
And it feels delicious. Like, it feels like that's the kind of life that you want to be living. Like,
yeah.
I've carved out time in my life for pondering now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I know that it's going to positively affect everybody else if I actually do that, and if I don't, something's going to be missing, and it's going to be my fault, because I'm the boss.
Nice. Dude, it has been a fucking pleasure as
fucking pleasure.
Always.
My pleasure.
We have great conversations all the time.
Yeah.
I'll see you soon. Have a great
I will see you soon, like right when we hang up.
Face melter. I'm trying that with my team.
Oh, have fun. Yeah. We sent. That's so funny. We sent that coffee overseas with the specs.
Yeah.
For like an international taste test, and I think Square Mile did it when Jim 7 was there. You should ask him about it.
Okay.
Specs and all.
Specs and all.
Yeah, they were supposed to pull it, and somebody.
This was back then.
Oh yeah, this is 2007, 8.
And they did it.
Yeah, we sent our coffee overseas and everything, and I think people actually liked it. Like, you might have people who remembered it. They actually liked it. But this is also back when everybody pulled short shots. Do you know if James is here? I'm sure he is. He's here every other year. But maybe not. I feel like there's something going on in Amsterdam right now, too. So maybe he's there.
I don't know. James and I haven't actually met in person. So.
Oh, good guy.
Yeah. Oh,
big fan.
Absolutely. Don't
get to hang out with him enough, actually.
I might get either you to connect me or Scott to connect me, and we can see if we get him on the podcast. I just feel like it would be fun to have a conversation with that human. I bet. Yeah, I haven't had long ones, but man, we definitely follow each other's work, and he's been a really cool supporter of us, actually. That's nice. Yeah, and even actually, he's said some really nice things about me when I've been pretty hardcore vulnerable on the internet, saying stuff about my past, and I launched one of our blogs, and it was like a really controversial one. Mm-hmm. And both Chris and I were like, oh man, this could be very bad. And the next day he reposted it, and it was a really proud moment for me. So if you ever listen to this, thank you. He wrote best writing in coffee right now, and it was my blog, and I was like, oh crap, cool. And it means something. It means something because someone you give a fuck about is recognizing the vulnerability that you're stepping into. Yeah, so it was really a big deal for me. So I don't think a lot of people know that, and I actually don't know if the blog's up still because it raised some hell, but... What was it about? The truth about me leaving and why. I mean, you kind of heard some of it, but it was a little more straightforward, and I was just like, hey, I'm starting my own company because here's what was said to me, and here's what it felt like when you didn't believe in people who you should have. I think that people who are having the opportunity and stepping into the things that have actually happened to them, and having the courage to talk about this shit. Right. Even though they know there's going to be blowback, I think that people are welcoming that behaviour. I think they've always welcomed it, but not enough people have done it. I just want to be sensitive because I don't want to fall into that group of people who I perceive as looking only towards the negative, which we just talked about a little bit, right? I want to find the right balance where people understand that I'm also trying to see, I have a lot of empathy for the other side because I actually feel like I see where they're coming from now, and I'm not going to share all the details there because I know intimate things about their life and what was happening in the business now that if they would have shared with me, I actually probably would have been able to get on board, but they didn't. And so I'm like, oh, I get where I think your brains were at. Why the fuck didn't you just share this shit with me? Because I was your number one dude. Because they're scared and for it's normal. Reasons. Yeah, and it happens to everybody. Everybody does that stuff. Right. But I just want to make sure that people don't think that I'm just out here trying to get my due diligence and be like the guy. No, which I don't think they will. But if you were that person, you would have walked out of that situation, vomited your vitriol all over the internet immediately, giving yourself no time to have perspective, no healing time, no growth time, no pondering.
Oh, so I'm still healing from it.
Yeah, me too.
It's gnarly.
Look, that's stuff that the coffee industry has given me so much material to heal scars from.
Yeah.
But the difference, I think, is people like us, we take the time to learn the lessons, grow from them, reflect on them, and then kind of tell the story in hindsight so that we can back that up.
Right.
This is where I came from and this is how it's helped me form a different path, grow my mind, open my mind, all that. That's when it's healthy to share a lot of these kinds of things. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And look, I think that people are welcoming those experiences more. I think where it becomes dangerous, to use that word again, is when people are just going and vomiting hate with no perspective, which we know that happens a lot too.
Sure does. You guys aren't very good. And gals and dolls.
Just be kinder to each other.
Yeah.
It's all there is no reason to go and be hateful to other people on the internet, because that's just being cowardly. Like, have a conversation with them. Even if you're going to do it over the internet, do it in a way that is private. It doesn't.
That would be cool. And just keep it private.
Yeah.
Until you figure it out. And then if you disagree, guess what? It's okay to disagree.
I had this kid come and find me on Facebook 3 years ago. Wrote a public comment. And then sent me a message saying that I'm going to ruin your business.
Super chill vibes.
And I said, who are you? And he kept going on about who he is. But it turns out he was an 18-year-old Australian kid who was doing coffee in Europe, and he was going to destroy Elixir.
Cool.
He wouldn't give up. So I took that message of him saying he was going to destroy Elixir, did not publish his name. I just took the words and I put it on my Facebook page so that only my friends could see it. Mm-hmm. And this shit went nuts. He reported me to Facebook.
Why? It wasn't about him. Just kidding. Yeah, that sounds fun.
Yeah. And it, that went on for months and months and months and months and months. And it's finally, we put towards the end of last year, we put a message up on our website that talks about it's directed specifically at the haters.
Haters gonna hate, dude. Ballers gonna ball.
Absolutely. And it just said that it was directed at the trolls particularly, saying if you're going to troll us, no problem, but we want you to know that we have a unicorn that is going to come and
troll you back,
hit you up with an Elixir rainbow golden shower.
Nice.
And
that's P.
Correct. And it is going to then take a photo, a selfie of itself with your message, and it will then be made public on the internet.
Cool.
We haven't received a single troll since then.
That's good.
Which was very I wish I figured that out
earlier. Who knew that would actually work?
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah.
Nobody wants to get peed on.
Not by a unicorn.
Or R. Kelly. So I'm going to take a walk.
You have to be in a certain age bracket to understand what that means.
P. I don't know if you do. He peed on someone and it wasn't chill.
And it was a child. With all the pedophilia.
No, yeah, you don't tell me. Urine on kids, not chill.
No.
You're out. You know what I'm saying?
No matter how many vibes you have, right? So
he never learned to read. That's a true story.
No.
Mm-hmm. But he can crush music, sings very
really
well,
does.
loves the songs, love his songs.
He was such a hero musically for me when I was in high school.
Was that when he was doing Fiesta?
Vibe and all of the really great R&B.
When he was rolling with Jay-Z, just making it happen.
Anyway, we won't start into...
That's Chris's song. All right.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Raise the roof.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Face melter. Thank you.
Peace. Bye, everyone.
See you later, alligator.